Hey guys, Chase Brogan here. So today in this video, we are going to demo, tour, and review this X8 plug-and-play retro game console. This is 500 gigabytes. It advertises over 70,000 plug-and-play games on here, and it's talking about Nintendo GameCube being on here, Nintendo Wii's on here, Dreamcast is on here, PSP, PlayStation 2, and so many other retro game collections. I'm super excited to test this out today. We've got the console right here. $87 is what I paid on AliExpress for this console right here. It seems to have great airflow on both sides. Can't wait to plug it in and test it out. It comes with a HDMI cable, power supply, and then of course we've got one USB-A Xbox 360 style controller here. So I'm gonna get everything set up here. I'll bring my monitor out. We'll dive into this, boot it up. We'll see what's on here. We'll comb through all the different collections and then jump into some games to see what the performance is like gaming on here. So let's dive into it and get started. All right, guys, so here is a up-close look at the actual console. So it is a good size here, and we do have great ventilation on here for airflow. You can see the backside of the hard drive right here, 500 gigabyte hard drive. These 4 screws would be what mounts that in place. So if you ever wanted to open this up, you would have to just loosen those 4 screws to remove the mounted hard drive that is within here. Now backside here, more ventilation, same thing over here. And what's really neat is there's QR codes posted across the back here. So if you want a your user manual, you can scan that QR code. You also have a tutorial that walks you through how to go through the entire system. You have a tutorial if you have a sound issue. If you want to learn about downloading games, you have a tutorial on that as well. So QR codes across the back here. Now more ventilation on the end and up top. And on pretty much, so there's ventilation on literally every side of this, but let's take a look at the port options here on the back. So we have some audio connections here. We have 4 USB-A connections on the back side here. We also have our Ethernet. We have a VGA, we have an HDMI, and then our power supply cable will connect down there at the bottom. So I'm gonna go ahead and connect the power supply cable just like so. We're gonna grab the HDMI cable, which is already connected to the back side of this monitor. So it's literally that simple, those 2 connections, and then I'm going to go ahead and just hit the power button, which is located here on the front, and that actually presses in. I can hear this humming. I'm going to lay it flat here. You can put it on its side, you can put it upright, whatever you want to do. I'm going to lay it flat though. You can see it's booting up right here. I'm going to pull the camera back and we'll see how everything loads in, and then we'll start working our way through. Oh yeah, and of course we've got to plug in our controller as well. I'll just do that into one of the USB-A connections back there. And you can see it's already booting up here. There we go. So we've got our Xbox 360 style controller here ready to go. All right, guys, so here we are loaded up. This is the way that I land in here once everything's booted up. So we're using Batocera today, and PlayStation 2 is the first collection that's highlighted here. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to just navigate through here and try to see if there's an all games list. Oh, there we go. There's all games right there. So on here, and you'll be able to actually see the game count at the top, 70,423 total games on this setup, which is pretty impressive here. So if we go into the all games list, you can see there are some titles here that do not have scraped data. Scraped data would be like this one here for 88 games, where it shows you your screenshot from the game. It gives you the title, of course, and then has a scrolling description of the game. It gives you some additional information below that as to who developed it, the type of game that it is, the region it's from, and the collection it belongs to. So you have a little bit of everything available to you here, but even these that don't have the scraped data, they just don't have anything other than the title. So in a perfect world, we'd like to see everything laid out like 96 Flag Rally right here, where everything populates in perfectly, even if this one doesn't have the longest description. It's just a couple of short words, but as we scroll through here, there are duplicates, so we're seeing that already. That's always something I'm concerned about, but let's go ahead and back out of this collection. And we have a favorites collection. That's going to be a custom collection that you set up yourself. Add all your favorite games in there just for easy access. You'll be able to locate it much easier than, you know, if you're looking for like Sonic the Hedgehog, you don't have to go down to a Sega Genesis or Mega Drive collection and seek that out. You'll just be able to quickly access that in its own folder here. So over here we have Amstrad with 1609 games, so 1,609 games for Amstrad CPC. We'll see how this is laid out. This is laid out really nicely. We have all of our titles across the top, and then as we highlight them, it pulls up all the scraped data. So we have a screenshot, we have cover art, we have description, and then the information about the developer and the type of game that it is. So this is beautifully laid out here. I really love how seamless this looks. There are some titles here, you know, that aren't scraped so nicely here, or scraped period. So I guess I got ahead of myself. I was saying it looks so good, and then might have jinxed it here. There's definitely a lot of titles that are missing the scrape data, but hey, if the games work, that's all that really matters in the end. But 1,609 games in Amstrad. We have Final Burn over here. So next over here we have Final Burn Neo. 6670 for games. That's a massive collection here. So I mean, we've got to have some duplicates in here. There we go. There they are. Okay, so we've got a lot of duplicates, and I call these duplicates. Not everybody's going to think that they are duplicates because they are different versions here. And you'll notice that the numbers at the end there do differ, so it's giving you the release date of the title, and they're different release dates. So they are different versions, but do they vary all that much? Probably not. Like, how many 1941 counterattacks do we need? Great game, but I don't need 4 different versions of it. It's just excessive in my opinion. Over here for 1942, whole lot of titles. 1943, even more titles. It's, you know, you can see how you very quickly would end up with 6,670 games in here. We're definitely not getting 70,000 plus games that are all original and, you know, there's no duplicates. That's just not the case. So we know that already. Here we have Atari 8-bits with 5,097 games. We have an Atari 5200 with 73 games, it looked like. I'm going to double check that. 73 games, yep. Atari ST with 7,080 games. That's a lot of titles here. And there we go. Duplicate City over here once again. So we'll back out. Atari 7800, 64 games. Uzbox, 89 games. Amiga, 8,633 games for Amiga. So this one's not laid out beautifully either. I mean, these are file names on here. It makes it hard to locate what you're looking for. There are duplicates as well. Or, you know, I suppose there could be different parts to these two, but yeah, that one's kind of a mess. Commodore 64, always a ton here. 12,000, what was that? 12,159? Yeah, that's a lot of titles. So I'm not crazy about the layouts in a lot of these collections so far. We're starting to go downhill a little bit. Amiga CD32. We have 21 games in here. Scum VM, 55 games. Let's jump into Scum VM. I'm a big fan of this collection personally. Very nicely put together here. We've got the graphics on the top, pulls everything in very nicely. Full throttle, great game. This is what every one of these collections should look like. And I'll be honest, 500 gigabytes, they're probably leaving a lot of this off because they probably started to run out of space. That's unfortunate. It's an indication that they just didn't plan things out accordingly, because this stuff, believe it or not, does take up a lot of space to have, you know, multiple images for each and every title. It takes up a lot of room on a drive, and this one, obviously, 500 gigabytes is, you know, not the largest capacity out there. So great collections in here. Sam and Max, that's awesome. That wasn't in the last one. Sam and Max Hit the Road, great game here. I love that. And I saw my 2 favorite Indiana Jones titles as well a few moments back. We have the Curse of Monkey Island in here. So lots of good stuff. Day of the Tentacle is awesome. We got Elvira in here. Good stuff. All right, we'll keep it moving. In television, we have 158 games. 158 games is pretty light, so I don't think there's going to be duplicates in this one. So those look similar, but they're not the same one. So yeah, this is on point for sure. Keep it moving. We have Vectrex with 71 games. We have MSX2 with 196 games. We have, for Windows, just 1 game. What is it? Plants vs. Zombie. Okay, that's a decent game. We have Xbox here, and which one is it? Is it Jet Set Radio Future? Yep, of course. So I've seen a lot of very similar setups, not identical, but similar, and this is a game that's easier to actually get up and running for original Xbox, so we do see this in here quite a bit. Not surprised by that the least bit. We have PC Engine with 421 games. We have PC Engine CD-ROM system with, missed the number there, it'll rotate, there we go, 70 games. Super Graphics with 319 games. We have NES with 3,040 games. So I'm sure we're going to have some foreign releases, and literally the first title here is a foreign release. So nothing is scraped. Oh, here we go. We have some scraped games. Maybe it's the foreign releases that aren't scraped. Let's hold this down and jump over. No, it's totally random. There are some foreign releases that are scraped, and then there's some that aren't. But like Alien 3, we have duplicates in here because we have the European version and the USA version. And some people will always argue and say that's not the same thing. It's not. It technically is not the same thing, but I personally don't need all the clutter of different region releases for titles. But let's make sure we have some Mario games in here. So I'm going to hold this down. I'll skip ahead so you guys don't have to watch me fast forward. But I want to see if Super Mario Brothers is on here, because a lot of times the classic Nintendo games are left off for obvious reasons. And, I get why, but it's frustrating for people because obviously Super Mario Brothers would be what most people want. And we can just go to the Jump To menu. It'll save us a ton of time. So we'll go down to S, we'll confirm it, and now we can, actually we should go to T, that'll make it a lot quicker, and we can just go backwards. There we go. So we do have all the Super Mario Brothers. It's not scraped though, which is weird, but they are here, and we'll jump in here and make sure that these games actually do play and everything's looking good and functioning properly, but we'll keep it moving for now. Original Game Boy, 1,605 games, way too many games here, but I'm sure it's because we have duplicates and we have different region releases. So 4-in-1 pack is in here multiple times. Nobody needs this many versions of a 4-in-1 fun pack with chess, checkers, backgammon, and reversey on here. You just don't need that. I'm sure nobody will argue with me on that. You just don't need that many versions of something like that. So again, Aladdin, great game, but do we need the USA version and the European version here? Probably not. We'll keep it moving. That looked like it was in color, which shouldn't be the case for original Game Boy. Oops, jumped ahead there, or back rather. Super Nintendo over here now with 3,596 games. It's going to be a lot of duplicates with that number, plus foreign releases, of course, as well. But let's see if we have, we'll go to the Jump To menu. I want to make sure we have Donkey Kong Country, because that's one that drives me nuts when it's not on there. And again, I get why, but it's my favorite Super Nintendo game. So I definitely want to make sure that Donkey Kong Country is on here for Super Nintendo. Perfect. We do have them. We have all the Donkey Kong Countries here. I saw 3, 2s here, 1s here, and multiple versions of it. So they've definitely got you covered here. I mean, Donkey Kong Country 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 different versions of the first one. One of them is the competition cartridge, which doesn't really count as a duplicate, but still a whole lot of different versions and variations. We'll back out. Virtual Boy over here should be only 31 games there. Nintendo 64, 256 games. Let's jump in here and take a look. All right, laid out beautifully. This is how, once again, this is how every single one of these collections in a perfect world would look, where you have your images across the top, your cover art, your logos, and then it populates everything in seamlessly here. Once again, just very easy to navigate and locate exactly what you're looking for on here. If I want Mario Kart 64, for example, I'll go to the Jump To. We'll jump down here to M for Mario Kart, and it should be right over here. There we go. And we've got 2 different versions of Mario Kart, so there's even duplicates within N64, which is interesting. This may be, it's probably just, again, different region releases. Let's see if we've got some WCW in here. I love the WCW games for N64. Hopefully there's some wrestling games in here. All right, we've got WCW NWO Revenge, my all-time favorite. So we don't have the other titles like WCW versus NWO World Tour. We don't have Let's see, what else would there be? We've got WrestleMania 2000 and No Mercy for WWF. That's good. But, we're missing Backstage Assault. We're missing Mayhem. But it is what it is. Those weren't as popular. So, very nice selection. I saw we had some cruising games over here, which I'll double check. I know California Speed's here. Do we have cruising? I thought I saw it. There we go. We do have cruising Exotica, USA, and World. 3 of my favorite games for N64. So we'll jump in here and test some stuff out momentarily. Game Boy Color, 1,495 games. It's excessive here, so we're going to have the same deal. It's going to be duplicates. There's 2 there. There's 2 here. Yeah, lots of duplicates, lots of foreign releases. We've even got the 4-in-1, 8-in-1 packs, which I never understood, because you're going to have those games in here bundled together and have them in here separate. It pads the numbers, and as anybody that's familiar with Game Boy Color knows, there weren't this many games released. There was way less than that. I think around like 6 and change, so 14 and change here is excessive. Now we've got Nintendo GameCube with 23 titles. Let's see what we have in here. We have Donkey Kong Jungle Beat to keep everything, or excuse me, to kick everything off. Love that game. We've got some Zelda in here, a lot of Zelda in here, I should say. Luigi's Mansion's a great title. Mario Golf, Mario Kart Double Dash, easily one of my favorites. Metroid Prime as well, another favorite. We've got some Resident Evil, Soul Calibur, Star Fox Adventures, Super Mario Strikers, love that one. Super Mario Sunshine, Super Smash Bros. Melee, Time Splitters 2. So really a great selection of titles here. And just so happens to be that most of my favorites are in here. No wrestling games, of course. I love wrestling games, especially for GameCube, WrestleMania 18 and 19. And then you also had, there were actually a few wrestling games here. Legends of Wrestling was great. What else? What was the one with Randy Orton on the cover? I'm blanking on the name right now. You guys could hit me up in the comments and let me know. But totally having a brain fart on that one because I love those games. But if I remember, we'll circle back on those. But they're not here, so that's unfortunate. What else do we have? We have 2,884 Game Boy Advance games. Again, way too many games for Game Boy Advance. And we're seeing 2 of each right off of the bat here. So again, too many games. We don't need all those different versions, but that's how you end up with too many games. You add foreign releases, you add every type of version that was ever made, the 4-in-1s, all that stuff, and you get, that many games when it should be just over 1,000, I believe, for Game Boy Advance. Nintendo DS now, 554 games. Was never a huge DS guy, but DS emulation is great, very easy to get that up and running, so I have no doubt that these would work, and they're laid out very nicely here, so I like that. Nintendo Wii. Is there really 1,049 Nintendo Wii games here? That's nuts. Interesting. Alright, so it's a lot of retro ones, and these are all WiiWare, actually, as far as I can tell. We'll scroll through here and see, and then there's like the old school games too, which are also WiiWare, or like NES for Nintendo Wii. So, yeah, right, that's misleading as hell. I mean, that's pretty. All right, we got some Sega titles too. All right, so that's not really what people would expect to find in here by any means, but we saw that Wii Sports was actually the first title. The first picture, rather. So I'm going to just go over here to W and see if Wii Sports is in here, because that's at least a true Nintendo Wii game. Why is the jump to being funny right now? Oh, there we go. Let's see what we have. So, yeah, it's not in here. So they had the picture, but the game is clearly not in here, unless they have it miscategorized, but I don't think they would. Alright, so that sucks that, it's so limited there with Wii, and it's really just WiiWare games. Nintendo 3DS, just one title included here, Alien Chaos 3D. Decent game, but I don't think that's anything people are going to get really excited about. We've got Open Bore here. I'm a big fan of Open Bore, 169 games. Great custom beat-em-up style games. Scraped beautifully, too, for being, a collection that typically isn't scraped all that nicely. So Good stuff in here, though. I definitely recommend checking this out if you like arcade games, and specifically, let's see if the Double Dragon game that I like. I think it's the Double Dragon. What is it called? If I see it, I'll know. Where you can be like Hulk Hogan, you could be Macho Man. Is it Revolution? I don't think it is. I don't think it's Revolution. I don't think it's Advance either. That one looks all right. Let's see. Yeah, I don't think they have that version here. From at least these aren't ringing any bells, anyways. I think it was like Reload, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, anyways, it's not here. But take a look out there for Double Dragon. I think it's called Reload, and that's where you can be different wrestlers, and they kind of look like the WWF Superstars from that WWF Superstars arcade game. It looks like that version of those wrestlers, so it's pretty cool. We have ports over here, so a bunch of ports. We've got the Doom port in here. We've got Mr. Boom. We've got Prince of Persia. Lots of good stuff in here. I saw Pong, Super Mario Wars, pretty cool. Tetris. All right, so we'll back out of this one. Pie Game, just a trivia game. Atomic Wave, we have 7 games in here. Dolphin Blue is a good one. It's been a while since I've played these, but Rumblefish 1 and 2 are both good too. We have Sega Mega Drive in here now with how many titles? 61 games for Sega Mega Drive, and I'm sure we have Afterburner, of course. There's 2 different versions. We have Complete European and then just the Japanese version. But do we have Sonic? I mean, we have to. We have some wrestling as well, but we have to have Sonic in here. It would be just ridiculous if that was left off. Wait, is it actually left off? You gotta be kidding. No Sonic the Hedgehog? Wow. Mortal Kombat's in here, NBA Jam's in here, some NFL games. No Sonic. We have a bunch of Star Wars, arcade, wrestling even, but no. Interesting. I'm sure it's in here in some of the other collections, but Mega CD looks very nice. Good scrape data here. It's a Terminator. So we got Sonic CD. Interesting the way they did this. All right. Sega Saturn over here with 28 games. What do we have for Sega Saturn? Die Hard Arcade, my favorite. Duke Nukem 3D, another great one. House of the Dead, the original. All right, so some pretty cool stuff here. Sega Rally, Tomb Raider, Virtua Fighter, X-Men, Daytona USA, another classic. All right, Dreamcast, 32 Dreamcast games. Ooh, they didn't scrape these. House of the Dead 2 is great. All right, Marvel vs. Capcom 1 and 2. Got some NFL, some Power Stone, Resident Evil, Soul Calibur, Sonic Adventure. Just the original Sonic Adventure, not the sequel. Virtua Tennis, one of my favorite games. All right, so decent over here for Dreamcast, but nothing scraped, which is interesting. Sega Naomi, we have how many games over here? 77. That's a lot for Sega Naomi. Crazy Taxi. We've got the old school Giant Graham 2000. Both versions. All right, so pretty good selection here for sure. Do they have Royal Rumble? That'll be the ultimate test. Sports Jam. They do, right there. WWF Royal Rumble. Love that game. All right, we'll keep it moving. Sinclair ZX81 with a grand total of 962 games. ZX Spectrum with 9,856 games. Neo Geo 265 games, so your Metal Slugs will be in here. Neo Geo CD 97 games. Neo Geo Pocket 340 games. Neo Geo Pocket Color 118 games. Original PlayStation 690 games. That is jam-packed. And, oh wow, Too Extreme. Wow, it's been a while since I played that game. I actually forgot all about that one. So let's actually go the other way. We got some 007 in here. Xena, some X-Men. Okay, sweet. They have WWF SmackDown. Awesome game. WrestleMania, the arcade game. Do we have any Tony Hawk Pro Skater in here? That would be cool to have. I love... Wow, we have all of them. Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1. 2 is my favorite. 3, 4. Wow. This is jam-packed. Great collections here. Tomb Raider I saw. PlayStation 2, 70 games. That is an impressive count for PS2 on here. So, and very nice layout here as well, where we have all of the cover art. So we've got, let's see, we've got Contra, Shattered Soldier here. We've got some Alien vs. Predator, some Altered Beast. We have some Burnout titles. We've got Capcom vs. SNK 2. We've got some Crash Bandicoot in here, some Final Fantasy in here, Grand Theft Auto Vice City, Hitman 2, Half-Life, Marvel vs. Capcom 2, Medal of Honor, NBA Street. We've got Ridge Racer. We've got Silent Scope 3. That's one you don't typically see. What is this over here? Okay, I was wondering if that was Tekken. Oh, here we go. We have that Tekken down here. Tekken 4, Tekken 5, Spider-Man. All right, some pretty cool titles. We'll jump into some of these. PSP 132 games, and we're coming down home stretch here. Oh, these are PSP Minis games. Okay, so it's kind of like the WiiWare deal. A little bit misleading, but let's see. All right, so there are some true PSP titles thrown into the mix, but it seems predominantly PSP mini games. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but it's not what I would think of. I would think of like true PSP games when I see it advertised. All right, LCD games. We have 53 LCD games. So Game & Watch style stuff. Donkey Kong Jr. Cool. Supervision 47 games, and this is going to be our last collection before we loop back over. So pretty straightforward here, and then we're back to our all games list. So yeah, 70,423 total games on here. Not an accurate count by any means. There's tons of duplicates, tons of different region versions of games. So yeah, very misleading, but still technically 70,000 plus games on here. They're just, a lot of duplicates thrown into the mix. So I would say that, just guessing, and it's purely a guess, but I would say that you probably have closer to, I feel like 25,000 games on here because of how many duplicates there are. I mean, there were tons of collections where there was like 4 of each game. So yeah, I would say 20 to 25,000 would be a generous estimate as to how many true titles are individually put on here with, when you remove all the duplicates. But I'm not mad at it for $87. I mean, as long as these games work, I think we're in great shape. All the same. So let's jump into some games and test out the performance here. All right, guys, we jumped in here. We checked out this 500 gigabyte plug-and-play retro game console with what's advertised as 70,000 plug-and-play retro games. Now, let's first address the elephant in the room here, the 70,000. It's a great marketing plan. It looks great on paper. There's not 70,000 original games. If we, remove all the duplicates in here, and let's address duplicates. I call them duplicates if there's multiple versions of the same game. Some people will always argue with me on that if there's a European version, an Asian version, and a US version, they're not the same game. They are the same game to me. I don't need all these additional versions of it. Just give me the USA version and I'm good. I'm never going to play the Japanese version, but there are people out there that will. So for those people, you're going to love this setup because it gives you a lot to choose from. For me, there's a lot to choose from, and it's just more time I'm going to comb through this and really find what I'm looking for. But I can see both sides of the coin there. For some people, they want multiple versions. They like to play different versions. I can't relate to it personally, but there's an ass for every seat out there, let's be honest. So what you get here is what I think is closer to 20 to 25,000 games. The whole thing costs $87, comes with a controller, comes with everything that you need to just simply plug this into a TV or monitor. You don't need anything additional than what is included here. So $87 for 20 to 25,000 games, plug and play ready to go, and it is truly plug and play ready to go. It's outstanding. I mean, it really is. 70,000 would be incredible, but 20 to 25,000 at $87 is definitely nothing to be upset about. So let's talk about performance here. This works great for the majority of what is offered here. The only issues that I encountered was with Nintendo GameCube, where it just wasn't perfect. It's a little bit laggy. Every now and then you'll get some flickering on screen, you'll get some little glitches, but it does correct very quickly. Still, to me, it's not that great experience that we really would want with GameCube. Same thing with PlayStation 2. PlayStation 2 is just a little too laggy. PlayStation 1 works perfect. Dreamcast, perfect. Genesis, NES, Super Nintendo, FB Neo, so classic arcade, all that stuff works great. Scum VM even, great experience, but it's just GameCube and PS2 that just aren't quite up to snuff in my opinion. They're playable, but it's not a great experience. So as long as you know that going into this, you'll be able to gauge whether this is worth it for you or not. I think it is $87 for all the different games you get on here. And yes, there's a lot to choose from. There's a lot that you have to comb through because there's multiple versions of lots of these games, but you can go in and add and remove games. You can get rid of all the duplicates if you wanted to. So there's a lot of things that you can do to customize this to make it better on your own. But $87, like I said, to get started with all of this, have everything included, ready to go by simply plugging this into a power source and then, of course, connecting it through HDMI to your TV or monitor. You really can't beat it. So let me know what you guys think in the comments of this video. I know it drives me nuts when there's tons and tons of what I call duplicates, but at the price point here, if this was like $250, I would say it's a sloppy mess. But for $87, I really don't think that I'm going to hold it to super high expectations here because it is a really fair price point. So let me know what you guys think in the comments of this video. To learn a little bit more about this plug and play game console, click the link up here at the top of your screen as well as in the description of this video. On your way out, please drop a like on this video, of course, and if you haven't already, drop a subscribe so you stay in the loop for all future videos right here on the Chase Brogan YouTube channel. Thank you guys so much for your time. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one.